old Munji. Munji's going really well. He's enjoying life here. Totally addicted to hay. So today, just for a bit of a treat and something different, we're going to head over to the roadhouse and we're going to introduce Munji to an emu. Hey, you want to go meet the emu, big fella? You would have seen him out in the bush before. You're a good man, aren't you? Happy New Year, big fella. Hey, little girl. How are you today? See ya. Come on, big fella. There's my big boss. Hey, big fella, aren't you? Hey, good old mate. There you can see, they settle real quick, camels. He's totally relaxed here. He quite enjoys it. Still got a little bit of his punk hairstyle going on up there, but we're leaving that because it looks cool. Otherwise the rest of him's all brushed off. Now you see in the start of the videos, using the rope to sit him down. You know, it looks like a bit of a wild thing to do, but like I said, it's something the camel understands. It's the way they play with each other like that in the wild when they're young, all the way through to their adults. It's the move that they use naturally. So, and when that move's done, they know their place in the herd. Okay, so this bloke, he's been through that, hasn't worried him at all. The next day we pulled him out, he walked quite well, and now we're up to this stage where me and Munji are best mates. So it's a good way to work with camels, especially bulls. You can see Munji's belly here. He's getting fairly well looked after. He's totally addicted to his hay. In fact, Munji wants to eat about 5 times a day, but at the moment he's getting a bit of breakfast and getting his dinner. And judging by that belly, little big fella, makes it hard to get the girth under there sometimes. Now, the thing about camels is, especially when they're big fellas, right? The bigger the hump, the harder it is to fit the saddle. Now, one thing is this bar over here. We don't want any of the bars touching on the camel. I like to put my finger in under there and just make sure that bar's not touching him, especially when they get big. If any of these bars are touching him, you need to readjust your pads. Okay, you need to restuff them, make them more solid, even drop them down a bit so the saddle sits up a bit higher. Now there's a few points on the camel you've got to watch. It's his shoulder. Okay, make sure this pad's fitting right. Okay, you don't want him to get a sore shoulder. Also down here at the back pads are very important. He's got hips in under here, and we don't want anything sitting in on the hips, rightio. So if your pad's getting a little bit out of hay inside it, we use pea straw, or I use pea straw in these saddles, and a little bit of leather is sitting in there and rubbing on that camel's hip. Okay, you're not going to notice it while you're riding him, you're not going to notice it in the afternoon, but the next day when you bring him out, it's worth touching him on those points, just to feel around and watch his reaction. If he's cool, he's cool. But sometimes you'll come in at the shoulder, you'll have a little bit of a snarl at you, or over at the hip. Now if you continue to work a camel like this, you're going to turn him into an upset animal and can often make him a biter. This saddle's fitting pretty well, isn't it, Munj? Now a good spot to test your camel to see if he's nice and calm. He's off and in around here. See he's nice and loose in there. Also just behind the shoulder, a little bit of a pat in there. And when he's nice and gentle in there, nice and sort of squishy and jelly like, he's pretty calm. Up. Looking good, big boss. Ready for a walk? All right, Munji's ready to go. He's all dressed up for the day. Hey, big day out, mate. You can see old Munji's pretty calm, cruising along. Now, we haven't got his nose peg done yet. A nose peg's a little disc that comes in, it's like a little peg in the nose that's what you work camels off. Okay, it's because camels have got 3 stomachs. They're a ruminant animal, so they're a cud chewer. Okay, so you can't have a bit in the mouth like a horse because you'll end up swallowing that. So this is one thing we've got to get done with Munji before we get him out on the big adventures. It's your handbrake and safety line. So at the moment we're just working with the rope. So when I do it, even though he's pretty quiet, I like to have a knot in the end of my rope, because if he does go, I've got something to hang on to. Now this bloke here probably weighs up and over 700 kilos. So if he goes, it's going to be hard to hold on to. So we need to watch him, keep using your commands with him, tell him to walk up, keep cruising with him, and also just have a little bit of control of the rope before we go out anywhere near the main road. Come on, big fella, walk up. Big fella. Hey, Mooky. G'day, bully Mook. Down there, Munji. Down there, Munji. Yeah, big old man. Munji, meet Bull Mook. Okay, the older than you. That's it, mate. You tell him. Behave yourself. Now this is Bull Mooky over here. This is my old camel bully. Me and him have done some miles. In fact, we left here in 2005. We walked over 2,000 kilometres to the west coast, Western Australia, and we spent many years up there. Now as he got old and retired, we brought him back down here. This is his home country here, but Bull Mooky was my best mate. So I've moved Bull Munji in now. Bull Munji's going to take his place, and this guy's going to retire happily in the paddock out there. Even though he's a pretty small bull, he was tough, very tough animal. In fact, when we left, we crossed the Tanami Desert and walked halfway across the Great Sandy Desert before getting to Broome. So it was in March, we're averaging 48 degrees. We actually had 3 wild camels in tow behind us. Now, as much as they played up in the first week, this bloke just towed them real well. He's the most reliable, trustworthy bull I've ever met. Aren't you a big mooch, eh? Good to see you, mate. Happy New Year. You can see there, old bully Mook, a little bit snarly there at old Munji. Bull's probably a bit jealous. Now me and Bull had a fantastic relationship, and he was the most trustworthy camel I ever had out there in the desert. In fact, I trust him more than I trust a brand new Land Cruiser. He's probably a bit peed off that I've got Munji and I'm walking him. But like I said, Bull's getting pretty old now, Mooky. So it's a nice paddock out there for him to retire in, and he's well looked after down here too. Time to fresh the young blood. Now Munji should be used to emus. You would have seen them out there in the bush before. The emus are not too sure. Okay, that's him, big fella. You gonna come over and say hello? Now Munji looks like a bit of an emu. He's got that big long neck and the head out there like that. So these guys probably think he's just a big giant emu. G'day fella. Coming to talk to us? Come on over, big fella. That's the way. What do you reckon, Munji? Now, I had a mate once. He actually got done DUI on a camel. Okay, had a few too many drinks, got on his camel, took off, policeman pulled him over. Now it went to court, he got away with it. He didn't have reins on his camel, so he wasn't in control of his vehicle. But if you ever go into the bar and want to ride your camel home after a big night, make sure you take your reins off, because you're only a passenger then. I'd say this has got to be one of the best things about owning a camel. When you're travelling on a camel, stand big fella, stand. When you're travelling with a camel, you pull up a roadhouse, you only got to fill him up with a few leaves and a little bit of water, and you move on. Very awesome and cheap way to travel. Anyway, rising fuel prices, this is the way to go. Yep, big fella. You can see the old road train here. This can be one of the hardest things for camels to get used to. Okay, so what we do is we just slowly bring him out. We've got a nice park on here. Let him have a little look at it, let him have a think. Now, originally in Australia, camels were the mode of transport. They used to load them and walk them all the way up towards Alice Springs, and basically 80% of Australia was opened by these guys. In fact, the average weight for a camel was around about half a tonne. Very strong animal. Since the old motor trucks came in, camels were retired and no longer needed. They were pushed out back into the desert, and now we're breeding and breeding. We've got probably the biggest herd of wild camels anywhere in the world now is here in Australia, and the most pure bloodline, disease-free camel. So a little bit hard for them to get used to, but in some way they're very related. Okay, now it's natural for a camel to be afraid of a big truck coming like that. It's natural for any animal, including us when we're standing on the highway. But showing confidence by walking past a thing like this, he'll soon learn that there's no damage there, nothing's going to happen to him, and it'll help him along with his confidence. As I said, if I see the truck coming and I decide I'm going to take off 50 metres into the bush just to give him a bit of a clear way of the truck, I'm teaching him to be scared of something. So if you're going to be a leader with camels, you go and that camel follows. It will teach him good confidence. The more we do like this with the camel, the more confidence he's going to become as he becomes a well-trained camel. So that's a roundup with the day with Munji. Just getting him out, getting him used to a few things. Meeting the emus, slowly getting used to him. We take him over to the bar, take him through the petrol bowsers, a little bit of a walk along the highway, and introduce him to a road train. So as time goes, we keep increasing this, and this is the best way to make an elite trained camel. So this is Munji meeting Mally. Mally's a dingo, and this is John. Hey, you've met a dingo, you've probably seen a few out there in the wild, haven't you? Hey. Hey, steady out there, big fella. Okay, Munji doesn't like dingoes, boy.
He's drooling a bit.
Hey, you get excited, eh? So that didn't go down too well with the dingo. So out in the wild, probably one of the only things that can harass a camel. Now, especially when the camels are young, babies, and the mothers give birth, a few dingoes can come around. So this is a camel's natural response, is to front leg, kick that dingo down. Now, if you've got dogs around camels, be very aware. It's the front legs, it'll break their back. Now that just gave you a little glimpse of the power of a camel. Even though he was pretty cool, he's done a few things and he's relatively in control. But it's just an insight of what they can do. If you get in the wrong spot with them, that's that front leg I told you to watch. So, like I said, with dogs and dingoes, it's pretty natural for a camel to do this. Once they get used to dogs, they can become great friends. But this bloke here, he's obviously not great friends with the dingo just yet. We'll get there. So now we're getting used to the camel, getting him used to coming in on the side. Square on at the front legs, a little bit of a touch there. So he's getting well and truly used to me. As I'm doing this, where are the back legs here too? I'm just working my hand down the back like that. I'm watching his back leg, because if his back leg comes forward, that's when he's going to strike. You can see, he's sitting nice and back, he's quite relaxed. I'm just trying to check a few things on the saddle. I touch the neck strap, that gives him touch on both sides. Girth strap over here, check his saddles, a little bit of a pat working my way under the belly, and a little bit of a pat under the shoulder there. You can see he's calming down nicely. He's getting well and truly used to us. But as I said, it's about your safest spot. If I'm out there a little bit, front leg or neck, back behind a little bit, back leg can kick. Now the reason I'm not putting myself in that situation is I don't want him to learn he can do that with me. Here, he hasn't got it in his mind because he knows he's smart. He can't reach me from here, so he's quite relaxed. Aren't you, big boss? You get the camel like this, he's starting to settle down real well, as you can see. So we're building up to the riding phase. Okay. Now until we get that nose peg put in him, we can't use the reins. He's way too powerful just for neck rope reins. So we don't want to get on him while we're only using ropes, because he can take me anywhere. The camels can walk long distance. I could end up in South Australia. Okay, so until we get the nose peg, we're just working like this. Right, so when I'm going to get on a camel, teach him, he's sitting down, he's not strapped up there. I'm just moving his saddle a little bit, touching his stirrup. Okay, now you don't want to put your foot right in the stirrup, because if the camel flies up, where are you going to go? You'll end up underneath him. So you just want your toe in the stirrup. Okay, now if I'm halfway on him and he gets up, I'm going to continue to get on him. But always saying whoosh, whoosh, hand on the front bar, one on the middle. Okay, whoosh, whoosh, and just slowly step over him, nice and easily sit down, and bang, you're in the saddle. Okay, now he's pretty calm at that, so I'm going to do this a few times with him, and like I said, very soon we're going to get the vet out to put the peg in his nose. We use it by numbing the skin there to get the peg through, just so he doesn't have to go through too much trauma there. Very similar to the way we do it when we get an earring and stuff like that, but it's the best way to work camels. As I explained, they're a ruminant animal with 3 stomachs. They regurgitate their food, chew their cud, swallow it again. So a bit in the mouth doesn't work on a camel. In fact, it is illegal to work a bit in a camel's mouth here in Australia. Okay, so until we got that thing going, this is what we're going to do, just to get him used to it. Eh? You like it there, big fella? You're a good man, aren't you? Now once he's chilled out with that, pretty calm when you get off a camel, instead of throwing your leg over the back, just flick him over the front, slide on out of there. Nice and calmly with him. Yeah, big fella. Give it a pat underneath. He's doing well, Mr. Munji. Well, that's a good morning with their Munji over here. He's been doing so good. We'll give him a bit of an early mark today. Cruising around, meeting the trucks and all the things like that. Taking the saddle well, even taking me on his back pretty well. So he's moving along pretty impressively. Now some camels, they'll take to it so quick, like Munji over here, just happy to cruise into it. Other camels, a little bit longer. Every one of them's so different. So if you have a set of rules that you're working with camels, you say, right, this is the way I'm going to work camels, and you line 6 of them up, you'll find those rules won't apply for most. You've got your general things that you do with camels, but you're also working with their individual personalities. They are so individual. That's because of their intelligence. Their characters differ so much. You've got absolute killers. You've got sooks. You've got just big cruisers like this guy that just want to do it. You get all sorts of personalities. So you've got to vary and always have a plan. Okay, so if you go in and say, right, this is how I'm working today, the camel does something a bit different or shows a different personality, maybe he doesn't want to do it that day, you need to have backup plans for the backup plans for the backup plans with them. So always be ahead of yourself when you're working a camel. When you get one like this guy, you really make you understand why it's so good to be around camels. Hey, here she comes, little Miss Black. How are you, beautiful? Hey? How are you there, beautiful? Hey, she's a real sweet camel, this one. Hey, little princess. She's just had all the hair combed off now. You can see all that winter coat's gone. These two get along really well. Now you can see I've got the rope on the camel over here. Now this is when you're working a camel in the first part. If you were to go in around his neck and try and tie a rope, that camel can grab you. You're in all sorts of trouble. So we use the ropes around their neck just to guide them into being caught, especially when you start using the nose line. You put your foot on the rope and you want to teach the camel to bring his head down. As you can see with this rope here, I'm going to slowly pull his head down until I can get my hand on his nose. I don't want to be reaching up for the camel. He brings his head down to me. So they're just guider ropes we use on them, and once they start working well, then we can put the guider ropes away. But something so to save some treading on it all the time, especially when they're going really well, is to chain link it up. So I use this simple chain linking method. This stops his toes from getting on the end of it, and it's just easier for me to catch. Like I said, I don't just want to run in there and wrap my arms around a fresh bull camel, because he's going to end me life pretty quick. Okay, and I don't want to teach him those lessons until he chills right out and shows that. This is the method we use at the moment. All right, big fella, I'm going to put you away for the night.